Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. My Deadlights.
Welcome to the Deadlights podcast. I'm your host, Sam Johnston.
And I'm your host, officially, Leslie Soto, and bringing you your daily dose of horror.
Daily dose of horror.
And today we have our first guest, Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm bringing you your daily dose of nightmares
Oh.
and dreams. Wink.
Ooh.
Wow, I like that intro.
Ladies,
right?
he's taken. I'm just kidding.
Welcome, Adam. This is officially the first recording of the Deadlights podcast, which is a project that Leslie and I have decided to collaborate on together.
Yes.
We had so much fun during that 31 days, though tiring.
Very tiring, but
I think
so
it
much
was very fun, yeah. And it inspired this podcast that we're going to be bringing to you weekly. Same idea, just love and horror.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
talking about it.
I'm very excited to watch this podcast, listen to this podcast, and also be a part of it sometimes.
Yeah,
Yay!
definitely.
Exciting. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
It seems only right that you would be our first guest on this podcast.
Yeah, you were absolutely there for maybe perhaps more than I was.
I think you were definitely there for almost all the ones I was there for, if not more. You just sometimes fell asleep.
Oh, that's true.
Physically
yes.
Physically. You were
I was
physically
physically there.
Yeah.
There were days where I just couldn't hang on anymore.
Mhm.
My body wanted to sleep.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm so
Oh, wow.
excited to be doing this podcast first and foremost, but to be talking about this movie.
Yes. What did we just watch?
We watched The Platform,
Mm-hmm.
directed by Galder, Gaztelu-Urrutia, and I'm so sorry if we're pronouncing it wrong
Trying our
or
best.
semi-wrong. Yes, and it main people, David Desola and Pedro Rivero. And the logline is a vertical prison with 1 cell per level, 2 people per cell, only 1 food platform, and 2 minutes per day to feed. An endless nightmare trapped in the hole.
I had never seen this movie before. Had you seen this?
Yes.
Both of you
Yes.
had seen this
We
before?
watched it.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Last year,
Mhm.
yes.
Oh, cool.
During the pandemic.
Yeah, when it came out, dropped on Netflix.
It's a Spanish movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting because we watched it with the English dubbing
dub,
and
yeah.
English subtitles.
Mhm. But the subtitles
Good
were
match.
for the Spanish, like the subtitles are the English translation of the Spanish
Right.
Mhm.
dialogue, but the dubbing has a different translation.
Which is
Yes.
Very
Because
weird.
it's supposed to match what they're saying with their lips.
Yeah.
So sometimes what the actual translation is can't fit
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which
visually.
I felt sometimes, because I was kind of paying attention to what they were saying and
Mhm.
looking at the dialogue sometimes because it was different.
Mhm.
And I could understand that they were trying to get the same thing across, but at times it felt like I liked the subtitle
Mhm.
better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds more poetic,
Yeah.
rather than the dubbing almost sounded robotic
Mhm.
at times. Not the
Yeah.
actual voice, but how things were said. It seemed like
Each line was recorded in a void, as if the person saying the line had only read the line and not seen the movie, or
Mhm.
wasn't acting it. It was just like, all I've got to go on is this line. And it felt like every single line was recorded independently.
Perhaps just see it with the subtitles and not the dubbing.
Mm-hmm.
Spanish
agree.
is a beautiful language. It's very poetic,
Yes.
especially because this man, our main character, brings. I'm gonna skip a little bit, but like two things when you walk into this facility, the hole. They ask you several things if you have allergies, gluten intolerance, but they ask you to pick an object, and you have no limits. You can bring one, whatever it is.
surfboard.
A surfboard,
Yeah.
a
So
dog.
cool.
So he chooses to bring Don Quixote.
Don
Quixote.
Don Quixote. Don Quixote.
Don Quixote.
Yeah. Don Quixote.
Which is a very poetic book on its own.
Oh yeah,
The
I think
original
we
novel.
Need, I think we need
Spanish
to talk about
language
that
novel.
throughout
Yeah,
this movie.
absolutely.
I mean, that's
Don
Yeah.
Quixote.
Yeah.
well,
Let's
Mhm.
get
the
in.
first time.
Yeah.
From the top.
From the top.
Make it drop.
Yeah, we start at the top, which is a beautiful kitchen. Like the most. If you like big kitchens, this is like some sort of wet dream for you.
And someone's
Beautiful.
playing violin while they're working.
Like
A live violin.
It's like to the oranges.
There's always a violinist being presented, because there is a moment in further in where we get another kitchen scene, and they're still like in the background as like this man is doing what we're going to be talking about later.
Everything is very brightly lit, very clean, very luxurious. Things are going in slow motion. You're seeing these beautiful dishes from desserts, steaks,
a whole
escargot, you know, and anything that you can think of that looks delicious. They're cooking it, and they're like cooking it to perfection. And then there's a voiceover that I believe it was something like, there are three kinds of people.
Yes.
Those above, those below, and those who fall.
That fall.
Yeah. Which is...
So the dead?
Yes, because there is that image of people falling through the hole, but the main character does go all the way to the bottom in the end, which ultimately I think we'll talk about. Did he succeed? Did he fail? You don't really know, but he did have to fall all the way down to at least try. So I think fall is like, in that moment, you're definitely thinking like, oh, that's bad. That doesn't sound good, especially with this deep hole. But fall maybe leads to rising again, kind of like a phoenix.
That is
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we go into the first cell, which I believe is
level 48.
Level 48 with our main character Goring, and he wakes up in his first cell, his first month in the hole, and he's roommates with an old man. I can't remember his full name. I kept writing down Trim. In this first scene, the old man is the one that kind of just establishes our rules of what's going on.
Yes.
The rules of the universe are what we're getting from this guy. At first, we're not on his side. Then we kind of are brought to his side a little bit. And then we're definitely not on his side. He's kind of an interesting character. And I think an interesting first character to have as this guy's first roommate. Because he pretty much shows them how to survive in this world that they're in.
And it's established again and again that our main character should not survive. Like, out of everything that he could have chosen, he chose a book. And like even the administrative person that shows up as his roommate later on is like, you know, people who choose a book don't survive. And she's just kind of like, you chose a fucking book. But like we see later on that people choose different things to survive. Her survival is her dog, her like emotional, you know, connection. And like somebody had a surfboard, and she still thought that the book was the least, you know,
the most idiotic. Wait, we're jumping ahead. So
we did.
So
level 48
in the first scene that we get, still establishing the rules. It's a prison. Some people are volunteering there. Some people are there for a sentence. The main things that are going on, though, the main rules are the platform comes down, sits on your level for 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And then goes down. You can't take any food off of the platform after it goes down. You can't do that because they'll either burn you to death or freeze you to death.
Every month you
change levels.
You change levels. Yeah. They gas you up. And then you
stay with the
randomly.
Same cellmate for as long as they're alive, but you change levels every single month. And the old man in the scene is just very like, he's been here for months. You know, he's already learned the ways of how to survive in this world. He's been here for a while. He's been here for 10 months though, so he has had other mates before, and what's really happened to them we don't really know. And the old man is just he's very cold about the rest of the situation that they're in, which is, you know, don't talk to the ones below. The ones above won't listen.
Yeah.
Get your food while you can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
it. He's just like, he's accepted.
You can't be too careful. You just fucking eat, enjoy the level that you're in, because it could be worse.
Yeah.
So the above are godly. The
Mhm.
one below us are shit. And it's just like the fucking mindset that you have while you're in here.
But it's like there's no difference because at the end of the month, those people will change. Everyone changes.
Yeah.
And yet those aboves are still above, and those below are below, and you treat them with the same deference.
Yep.
Very
'Cause-
class
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
metaphor right there.
There's so many class metaphors and imagery going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, just in how Trim talks, he says obviously all the time.
Obviously.
Obvio.
That is a
Obvious.
acceptance of the situation that we're in, this class-like situation, and he's just accepted
Yeah.
it. He's a
Mhm.
part of this world fully,
He's like,
obviously.
can't you see it?
Mhm.
Obviously.
It's
Like
obvious.
every time that our main character had a question, he was like, well, isn't it obvious?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We are at level 48. Like, you should take advantage of this. I think he goes without eating for like 3 solid days.
There's
Mhm.
a couple days there where he's not.
He's so disgusted by
Yeah.
how this man is eating.
Yeah, and by the food that is before him,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
just,
which
like,
is just
touched-
leftovers and touched and
Stepped on.
yeah,
Laid
spit
on.
on,
Spit on.
puked on, probably.
Pissed on,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But we do somewhere in there get the platform rising back up at
Mhm.
night again, where it's just like,
Yeah, that night.
Yeah, he's like
is when
stands
the lights change.
yeah, when it's
to
red, is like night, I
Mhm.
guess. And then every night when the platform has hit the bottom, it speeds up. It just like rockets
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, what kind of is it? Like magic? Is it science? Like
Same thing. Same thing when you don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
Yes.
I thought of
what's-
yeah. I didn't actually even think about that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I didn't even think about
Yeah.
how the
That
mechanics work.
platform is not attached to anything. It floats down,
Yeah.
it stops, and it floats
Mhm.
down again. And it's strong enough to like bisect a person, and it's also fast enough to go up all those floors at a breakneck speed. That thing's magic or science or whatever. It's still concrete.
It's still
It's
concrete.
still part of the whole.
It's the only constant thing in this movie. It's the going down and going back up at the same exact speed every single day,
Mhm.
stopping for the same exact time, going down to each level and ascending back up. It is the constant thing that's always going to happen in this system.
It's the only thing.
It's like time.
Yeah.
It is time, because that means that it will never stop.
Mm-hmm.
This will never stop doing this. So it's all about how we work as people, or within this system that will not change, to make it the best for everybody
Mm-hmm.
in some way.
His roommate says, "You look like one of the people who would throw themselves off if you're in a higher
Oh.
level because you don't have to worry about food. You have nothing to look forward to because you have all the food you need every time, and so you just start thinking, and you're not strong enough to survive down there, and you're too weak to live up above
there.
because." When you have nothing to look forward to, nothing going on, then it just gets to you. What's happening gets to you,
Yeah.
which is wild. That's an idea of being like higher up.
Yeah.
When there's when you have everything you want, there's nothing to live for.
Well, even the people at level 1 are still in a prison.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is even the people that are higher up
Yeah.
in society, they're still trapped within this system.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all in prison.
Mhm.
Everyone's going to have their own
So might as well.
realization
yeah.
that we're trapped. Goring initially definitely is on like, we need to fight this kind of side.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to talk to the people below, and he wants to work with the people above to try to fix things. And I think his time with Trim breaks him down into the realization of the world that he's in, to a point of where he almost starts to become like Trim. This movie is almost, it's a 3-act movie structure, obviously, but he has 3 separate
Mm-hmm.
roommates,
Mhm.
cellmates. So this first act is with Trim,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really just a realization and his downward spiral into being a person that has to survive within the whole.
And that's when he realizes, because he keeps asking him, like, why are you in here for? What are you in here for? And that's when he tells him, this whole story of, like, how he saw this ad on TV. And it was for a knife. And it was the sharpest knife ever.
It could cut a brick.
It can cut a brick.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was interested.
Yeah.
Me too.
He was so intrigued by the Samurai Max, and then he finally bought it, and then as soon as he bought it and got it, they came out with the Samurai Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Where it never gets dual.
He got obsessed with the idea of missing out, I think is what he says. And he got so upset, so angry, that he ends up throwing his TV out the window, which then lands on, as he says, an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what got him into this hole. Yeah. But it's it's commercialism and capitalism that ultimately is the thing that frustrates him so much, because there's always going to be a brand new toy that you're going to have to get.
I think that's what happens with all of the freaking phones and PlayStations and stuff.
Right.
Like, people line up for these things for, like a fucking night or days to get this device. And it's like the newest, most shiniest thing. And
people get an iPhone like every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like obsessed with it.
Yeah. Because when the new one comes out, their old one is useless.
They're missing out.
Yeah, they're missing out.
What are they missing from the new technology?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Especially now with all of these social medias and stuff, where you can actually see the quality of things or the lives that people are, living with this device. And it's like, oh, fuck, like, I need it. And it's just, like, embedded in your head. Now with ads just popping up, if you talk about something and all of a sudden you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah,
it knows what I want.
Here listening.
They're listening right now.
One thing that I thought was really interesting was the Samurai Plus. It's a knife that every cut it makes the knife sharper.
Yes.
It's a fantasy thing. Like, that's not possible. No. But, like, every time you use the knife, even cutting that concrete, it's making the knife sharper. And then that is, like, compared to a book. A classic book, like one of the most classic books that exist. And it's like, I thought that was a very interesting kind of like, I don't know, juxtaposition of like a knife that only gets sharper and a book that, like, I guess you get sharper when you read it or something. Yeah. It's like, it's about in intellect, whereas the knife is about physical. But, like, the knife is definitely this thing of power. Like, when he pulls that thing out of nowhere, he just looks like this soft old man guy. And then he pulls out this enormous kitchen knife. And he's like, this is what I got. Obviously.
After just sharing that story of...
Right after that's when our main character's like, oh, you fucking killed your roommate in the lower level. Mm-hmm. That is what you did. You ate him. And he was like, no, absolutely not.
Isn't it obvious? And we have to say, I mean, the book is Don Quixote. Mm-hmm. So I think that also plays a part into the book's power, which, you're right. It's this idea of the pen is mightier than the sword. Mm-hmm. And the book itself is about, I mean, you've read it before, so...
I've never read it.
Oh, you've never read it?
Never read it. I know the story basically. I don't know the conceit. It's a man... has the delusion that he is a knight and starts like wandering around, his village and the lands nearby saying he's a knight, and everyone's like, this guy's crazy, because he is crazy, because he's not a knight, because knights don't exist. And his squire, he knows that Don Quixote is crazy, but he also believes in the ideals of Don Quixote, so he's willing to follow him where he goes, and that's where we get the
the dynamic between the old man and
the old. I guess between all the characters, really. If the main character is Don Quixote, or he's kind of playing with, all of his roommates. He's like, your ideals don't work here, or like his ideals don't work here, and then like they keep changing until he finally decides to go down. Mm-hmm. But it's like where we get the idea of tilting at windmills, which is he thinks that windmills are giants. It's also the phrase "they might be giants."
Oh yeah,
right,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
from.
yeah.
And there's a lot of things
Because Don
storytelling.
Quixote is like tilting at windmills as him jousting
Mhm.
at windmills because he thinks that they're giants.
Because he thinks they're giants.
he thinks they're monsters.
Yeah, when
Which-
they're just means of production.
right. Which that's what I was going to kind of
Machines of production.
Yes, that's what I was going to kind of say. This idea that if our main character is Don Quixote and he is tilting at windmills, which to everybody else in the story seems meaningless and stupid,
Mm-hmm.
but the idea is that he is going against the system,
Mm-hmm.
and which is exactly what this character is trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's him going against the system and trying to break this platform that they have is as ridiculous as jousting windmills to all these other people.
Because he was about to leave.
He was
He
1
only
month
had
away.
1 month away.
But he was on level 6, and then like he doesn't know if his next month is going to be eating another person or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
he was
he
like,
doesn't want
fuck
to-
that shit.
Yeah, he's like he doesn't want to accept what
yeah.
he rejects what they've made him essentially.
Mhm. This is when he first, in level
Oh.
48,
Oh, the mother.
yes, that is when he meets this girl.
Mhm.
So she's descending down, and she's like what looks like in a good level. We don't know where she's coming from.
Yeah, she's above 48.
But she's above 48, and she is just riding down. She's riding down, and she like what's this Trim has seen her before, and he's like, don't even worry about her. And he was like, she's hurt, and he shows tenderness towards her. She never speaks a word. And she just kind of like, they had this like slight connection of just like, okay, like you might not,
I see you.
I see you.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, I see you.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
see you.
Yeah, and Trim establishes that she's looking for her son,
Mhm.
or for
Yeah.
her kid, not her son.
No, he did say son.
He said son. Okay.
Yeah, for her son.
And
She
That
killed
just
her.
keeps-
Yeah, and then he tells her the story of like she killed her cellmate, and sometimes we eat flesh.
yeah,
Mhm.
you got to do what you got to do on the
You gotta
lower
do.
levels.
And that's when he was like, "Oh shit!" And then he's like, still kind of looking at her, frightened, but he's looking at her, knowing that she's doing what she can, and he had then, I guess, forgiven her sins of murdering because she is feeding another life. Like she is doing what she can for her to survive, but for her child to survive.
Mhm.
So I
Because
think
she's
that's
fighting for more
more.
than just herself.
Yes, but because he has no, like he goes up to Trim and he's like, "You're a murderer," but he never tells her that she's a murderer, you know. And we're holding this image of her as kind of like
Because she's the mother.
A
She's
saint.
like more than a murderer.
Yeah.
She's a caretaker.
yeah,
Which is like in this place it means more because being a murderer seems to be frequent and I mean in the
Necessary?
end and necessary. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone seems to be.
Because the first time that we see her, she comes down, we get that whole story, and then she goes.
she descends down.
Yeah, Goring watches her go down to the next level,
Okay.
and the guys immediately take her off,
Mhm.
presumably to rape her.
Mhm.
That's what I
Mhm.
thought.
Well, because they're like, "Hell yeah, thank you."
Thanks. And then they pull her off, kind of out of view, and we hear like some,
Yeah.
like some stabbing from below, and she kind of crawls back onto the table. She just probably killed those two guys,
Mhm.
Mhm.
all bloody up. So we have
Still
that
looking at her.
vicious. That literally we just saw her murder two people,
Mhm.
but we can still almost forgive her because we know that she's doing it for more than just herself,
And
more
also-
than just to feed herself.
It just dawned to me that also, like even to the most basic, she is a woman. She's a woman that has to survive in this world, and she is moving about, having to fight for a lot more than a man does. Where she's walking about, having to raise children, feed them, provide for them, and also all of that trying not to get fucking raped or murdered.
Do you think she's already figured out that she has to go all the way down?
I think so.
And then every day she's like trying to go down, but then gets either pulled off on a level or stopped in some way.
I think
every
she's been
month she has to make her way down to the kid.
Yeah.
But she never makes it.
I think
Well,
she does. I think she does because the kid survives, right?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So this is my question. Like, the kid is a kid. Like, we are presuming that she's probably, what, 4, 5?
Young.
8?
I don't know.
Definitely young.
Very young, but not a baby.
Not a baby. I would say 6 to 8.
Yeah.
But no, we get told that she brings a ukulele, that she's an actress. She came in here on her own.
Yes.
That is what we get from the administration.
True.
But, like, the child could have not, been born there because she's older. So something's a lie. Like, her storyline is a lie because either she brought her child as her object for them to survive together there, or she had the child there as a baby, and she's been there for 8 years if the child is 8. You know? So she might not be an actress, she was an actress, got raped, had the child, or she...
Also, the child is wearing the same clothes but fit for a child. So the whole system knows that there's a child there.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're making clothes for the
That's
child.
what because I struggle to figure out, I'm struggling to figure out how much I trust his second roommate. Because I can't tell if I should not trust her at all and she knows the things that she's saying are a lie, but she's so part of the system that she just is going to lie for the system all the time.
I think...
Or if she is also in the dark of how the system actually works.
I think that's what it is, because then she commits suicide. Once she realizes there's more levels than I was told,
Yeah, that's true.
she commits suicide.
That is very true.
And she's going to die anyways because she has
Everything's
cancer, and that's why she
Everything's a
volunteered
lie.
to go in there.
Nothing is real. Art is a lie.
Everything's a lie.
I think somewhere in here, we get the little happy montage between Trim and Goring where he starts to accept eating the food and
Playing around with their food.
throwing at each
washing
other.
themselves.
They're getting
and-
naked.
Reading the book.
He's
Yeah.
reading chapters of Don Quixote to him.
Because Trim loves when he, like, reads to him.
Yeah. And they're, like, kind of becoming friends.
But they both kind of obsessed with their objects after Trim's reveal that he has a knife. You know, and they kind of are like, okay, cool, you have this knife, I have this book, and it's kind of like, all right, don't kill me because I can provide some sort of entertainment for you.
True. What happens when he gets to the end of the book?
Woo!
Well, we don't really get there.
Doesn't get a chance
Nope.
to.
Because then it's the final night of the first month, and we wake up on level
171.
Ooh,
Which-
big dip.
Which I wrote down. Trim's lowest level was 132.
Right. Yeah.
So
This is his lowest level.
this is
now.
his lowest level.
This is his.
Last month there too.
This is second to last month.
Oh, second to last. Yeah.
So this is 11th
Level 11.
month because he says in this next part he says that he's got to just survive this month and then get through the next one and then he's done. But unfortunately for our main character, I think we do get another eye close up of his new level, and then back out. He is tied up.
He is tied
all tied
up.
up
Completely
and
tied up.
gagged.
Yep.
And we were a little bit brought on Trim's side, just like Goring was. But boom, switch back to no, we're not on the same
JK,
side.
I killed my cellmate because I ate him.
Yeah. I'll let you live for 8 days. I won't do anything for 8 days.
Because you need to be purged, just like escargot needs to be purged. You have to starve the snails so that there's nothing in them. It's just pure meat. And then I'm going to do the same with you.
Great.
I'm going to hold off
And
to
I'll
protect you. Basically, he's saying I'm going to keep you from.
He's like, I'm not gonna kill you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
to
be
stay alive.
taking little pieces of your body, and I'll feed them to you too, so
I'll
that you
give
can
you a
stay
bite.
alive. And he's like, oh my god, you're crazy. And he's like, and I'll tend your wounds.
Yeah.
Like, I need to survive. You need to survive
He's
for
gonna
me.
do his best to make this as easy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he says a line in there where he's like,
Better
I hope
to-
you come to your senses and
Mhm.
see that this is like necessary. And in
Yeah.
that moment, we're all like,
You
oh,
need to,
no.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
nah.
need to be purged.
Yeah.
And he says it's better to eat than to be eaten.
Yes.
And then in this scene also, you hear screams. And
Yep.
then he's like, oh my God, what is that? He's like, it's people, it screams of people who've realized that
What level they're on.
what level they're on.
Yep.
Mhm.
And people start...
Ooh,
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
falling.
And that scene ends with essentially Trim blaming the people above him for
Yeah.
Goring's situation.
Yeah.
He's blaming everyone above because they're not leaving him food.
Mhm.
So it's their fault that he has to
The ones
mutilate.
above are
Mhm.
responsible for your death.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. And he's just completely, again, negating this violent, murderous act that he's doing, just like he's negating blame from killing the person that got him into this situation. He won't accept any
No blame.
No
No.
blame. Anything.
Yeah.
Because he is blaming the people in the TV for the death of that immigrant.
It's the system.
It's like that immigrant shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
So it's like capitalism was what killed the poor man.
And then we get to the end of the 8 days, and he's definitely been purged because his bandages are that he's been wrapped up.
Yellow,
They're
they're
yellow.
brown.
Yeah.
Gross.
He
Yeah.
looks sunken. They did such a good job with makeup to make him look like fucking like he's deteriorating.
Mhm.
He's just, and the acting too. Oh my God, I felt his tiredness
Yeah.
and his fucking depleting of like hope. Like
Yeah.
like in his eyes, like you were able to see that.
We're coming to the end of the first act and our first part with Trim, and he's definitely at this point been broken down. And this is the part where Trim starts to cut into him and cuts off some of his
Fucking leg,
flesh,
yeah.
and he eats some of it.
Mhm.
And so he is now down as like desperate as he's ever been probably in his entire life. And who comes in and saves him?
From above.
From above.
It
Our-
is
our-
the mother
Mhm.
coming
Come on,
in,
Mom.
glass bottle on the back of Trim, and then does a nice like uses a samurai
Yep.
plus
Mhm.
on his neck.
That
his
thing
throat.
did not get dual after that.
Nope.
When before he Trim gets killed, he was like, oh, he's like, it's not the people above that are gonna murder me. It will be you.
Yeah, yeah.
This is on you.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, that is when you've been purged, my little snail.
Yeah.
And that's when he does the
Like
cutting.
I want to call him Goring, and I know that's not it. Goring. Yeah, like it has the clarity of focus to be like, you are responsible for this.
Yep.
And then Trim is like, now you are clean and I will eat you. You are ready to be eaten. Just it's wild that clarity of focus of seeing the world as it is, and Goring and Trim is like, now you see it as it is, and all the lies I've been telling you don't mean anything. Now you're ready to be eaten.
You have
Bam.
been purged inside and out.
Yeah.
Is what he says.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And now I will eat you.
Yeah. Gah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And you think because, like we just talked about, Trim has been specifically blaming people, like a person, and then that is the moment when Goring blames a person for what is going on. It's almost like his transformation into Trim.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And Trim stays with him for a little bit because after he's freed, Goring picks up the Samurai Max plus and just
Ooh.
destroys him.
Yeah.
He does the final death blows
Yep.
for Trim.
Mm-hmm.
He kills him. He's the
And-
first kill of the movie for him.
Yes. And the lady, the mom, starts feeding him his flesh.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's packing it up. She's making little satchels, with his
Yeah. She's
body parts.
Button up
She's
Trim.
taken, but then she's also
Just eating. and
like
feeding him.
giving taking care of.
Yeah. She's mothering him.
Yeah,
mothering
and
him.
I think there's some, because she's probably been having to do this with the child, but like the initial reaction of just like, what's the word I want to use? Like,
Revulsion.
yeah, yes, of not wanting to eat the flesh.
Yeah.
You know, but she just kind of like tenderly just like, yeah, but you have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to.
From that point on, she goes down and essentially gives him that tool to eat human, because that's what he needs now to survive in this level. And he's eating Trim. He's eating his body. And
but Trim is still there with him.
Yep, because
stays with him.
Yep.
He's like, now I'm inside of you.
Yep.
Now we're the same. Which is somewhat true.
We are the same, but he's like, but I am more civil.
I was more civil. Yeah.
I was more civil because I was gonna let you live, essentially.
Yeah.
And take little parts of you and feed you to you. But you killed, like, you let her and you killed me.
Yeah.
So now, who's the fucking murderer?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But we also, within the scene, we go back to the kitchen and we see the whole very wordless visual of the cook grabbing the, what is it called? The panna cotta.
Yeah.
Because there's a fucking hair in it. You know, which is so funny.
Quality control guy.
And he's yelling at his whole kitchen staff. Even the musicians are not playing in this moment.
Yeah, they're just like holding the violin.
And the whole kitchen staff is lined up and being yelled at, and then
he grabs the potential
the hairs on people's heads.
Which is so fucking funny that there's a control person that focuses on the beauty of the food when it doesn't fucking matter.
It's as if the work that they put into making these dishes perfect excuses the all of the monstrousness that happens with like later down in the system. Which is
that we do that in with our food, with our groceries, even just our produce. Our produce cannot look ugly. They cannot not have color. They cannot be unshiny, because then it gets thrown away. Like all the produce that is in Walmart and all the other stores, within a couple of hours, if it's not picked through, then they dispose of it. And it's not like they're giving it to the poor or people who need it. They're just literally throwing away all this food, to the point where there's like programs now to have ugly food be picked through, and it's cheaper because it wouldn't have made it in the stores because it's not pretty.
But then some companies will brand that it's ugly food. It's we're being greener. We're not throwing this away. They'll package it up in some plastic, and you can buy that now. Yeah. Causing more waste and all that kind of stuff. Or finding
it's just
more ways.
We're still not providing for people in need.
Right.
There's so many homeless people in this country. It's like a fucking epidemic, and yet there's so much food being thrown away.
We have provided you with the best quality food that you asked for. All these dishes that all of you people said would be your most favorite dish, we gave it to you. Not our fault that everyone above you decided to destroy it.
Once after
we did our part.
Yeah, we did our part. We made it look beautiful for you. It's up to you now.
Yeah. And then he wakes up on his new level with his new roommate.
Yep.
Level 33.
Level 33. And I think that this is now entering our kind of second act with, I wrote down Ema. And Ema brought Ramsey, her dog, as her...
Oh, yeah. Who was licking him.
And she immediately pretty much is like, you don't recognize me?
Yeah, and then we go into this.
Another flashback to that same interview of him volunteering for this. She's the one that was interviewing him. Yeah, she's now kind of this representation of the administration. She's this representation of the system, and she fully believes in the system, too, for the most part. Until she goes to the next level. But she is like, this is how the system works, and there's 200 levels, she tells us at this moment, and no one under 16 is in here, so she kind of poo-poos that crazy woman running around looking for her kid. We don't let kids in here. They would never do that.
It's the strictest of rules that we have is like no one under 16 is in the hole.
Right.
And then she posits that the entire point of the system is to generate a moment of
Vertical self-management.
Spontaneous change.
spontaneous solidarity.
Yes.
Spontaneous solidarity.
Mhm.
Yes.
Where everyone in this system decides to make things work for everyone, for the benefit of everyone else. But the whole system is flawed because there's not enough food for all these people. Even if they all decided to agree, the whole structure, the people who made the system, still control and control everyone's lives and like makes them puts them in a bad place. And also there's no like the guy Goring brings up, well, do you think they're trying to create a moment of spontaneous solidarity so they'll know how to keep it from happening in the real world? Which is like, oh, like is this like hopeful thing actually just another
Big
tool
experiment that can we use this? Can we weaponize this in some way? She is part of the system, but the system are part of the administration that makes this system, but the people that are in that administration aren't in that system, so they don't understand what it takes to actually survive.
They're not level. They're not level 0.
No, which I think this is a bit of a lesson for her because she's part of the system and she's now going to be put into that system. And her first thing that she does is try to talk to the people on the levels below to tell them this is how it works. This first couple minutes with this new roommate is like this montage of her spending 2 weeks trying to convince people below them to...
She sets up like food.
Yeah, she sets up the rations.
Yeah,
and
rations.
also she is taking turns between who gets fed, because she obviously has a living thing with her that should be getting fed, but she switches off. I get fed, then he gets fed.
Yeah.
The next day. And she's trying. She's trying. She's very,
she
very...
2 weeks.
2
trying
weeks.
to talk to these people and
then finally our
Goring.
Don Quixote
Yeah.
is like, hey, listen to this lady. If not, I'm going to shit all over your food and you're just going to be eating nothing but shit.
Yep.
And she was like, why'd you do that? Like, I wanted to convince him.
Yeah.
I wanted them to, like, on their own will be convinced. And he was like, well, I convinced them now.
She didn't want to do it like that.
Well, I didn't want them to think that they were going to be eating shit. So
and
now...
she's like, now we have to convince the people above us. He's like, I can't do that. She's like, why not?
I can't shit upwards.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and then that's when she reveals that she has cancer.
Right.
That she's dying.
Yes. That's when we
She's
kind of
like,
get... She tells the thing about the mother, and then she reveals why she's actually there. And she's essentially like, it doesn't matter, so I just came down here.
She came down there to change things. She came down there to be the spontaneous solidarity. She came down there to start it because she's like, I know this system just needs a kick, and I can be that. So that's what she came down there for. And then
she's like, I'm dying anyways. Might as well do something good. But she didn't know how bad it was.
And then it's the end of the month, and we go to our new level, which is level 202.
Ooh.
Even further down than Goring has been, and it's further than she said
There's
there
only
were
200 levels.
Yeah, she said there were only 200. So if there's more than 200, then she
That's
was lied to.
She was lied to as well.
And he wakes up and she hung herself.
She hung herself. Which I was kind of bringing this moment back to that point that we were just talking about of her being a jump start or a kickstart for the change. She kind of somewhat is for Goring. If she wouldn't have come down to almost shed light on the falsity of the system that they're all in, I don't think he would have had the kick in the pants that he needed to then do what he does in the end. Because before she shows up, I think he's just kind of accepted he's going to be like Trim.
Yeah.
And just get through it.
Yeah.
And doing whatever he needs to do. But it's her coming down and her suicide that I think changes him back to, well, maybe I should be that change.
Because then Then he gets the little angel and little demon,
Yeah,
yes.
illusions,
Yes. Because she comes back
She
as
comes
a
back?
hallucination too.
But she is encouraging him. Look, like, I woke up, I knew that one of us was gonna have to murder the other one to survive, and I'm dying, and I just kind of, did it for us.
Yeah.
And she's like, eat my body, eat me, like, provide.
It's a very she says, "Eat my body and drink my blood."
It was very
Jesus.
biblical.
Very biblical, very
It
Jesus.
seemed like quoting. It seemed
Yeah,
like she was
it
doing
was.
it. Yeah.
It was quoting.
And it's, I mean, kind of Jesus-like. He's being reborn into the sacrifice that this system is going to need, hopefully, to change it. The next note that I have is level 6.
Yeah.
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 Where he's now with his new roommate, Barat. And
He's physically strong.
yeah, big guy. He's got a rope around him. He looks like he's a man with a plan.
Mentally broken, though.
Yes.
Mentally broken.
Because I think this is probably his highest level too.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got his rope that he's probably been holding on to since he's come in here for this moment. Like, I just got to go 5 levels up. And
I'm the closest that I'm probably ever going to be to get out of here.
Yeah.
He thinks his way out of this prison is to go up.
Yes.
And he has to trust the people above him in order to do that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is where, like, the whole concept of, like, the gods come in, because then he starts saying, like, I had visions. God spoke to me that 2 people were going to help me get out of here. And then the people above are mocking him. They're like, "Oh, hey, honey, God spoke to him.
God's talking about us.
God said that we are the ones that are chosen to help this man."
So close, and then they just
Shit on him.
literally
Shit on
shit in
him.
his face.
Mhm.
Just shit in his face.
They could have literally just let go of the rope, which they do after a little bit, but, like, no, they had to make a point to shit on him.
Yeah.
Because he is below.
And he
All sanity is fucking
He loses his rope.
broken.
loses
His
Yeah.
his
rope
rope.
goes down. It's his hope.
And then he keeps telling himself, like, as he's washing his face, you're 100% fucked. You're 100% fucked. And, like, he's just like, fuck, and just like, I'm not going to get out of here.
Yeah. Goring isn't really, like, doing much. He's just kind of there and just, like, he's kind of sullen.
While he was eating, while he was in the level right below, or right before, he was counting the speed of the elevator. So at that point, he had already had the idea to know how long it took the elevator to go up and down. So he, like, counted it all out. And then at level 6, he's counting it all out. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I know.
There's 250.
There's 200.
He's
200
formulating
floors.
some sort of plan.
250 floors, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think it's the first night that he's in level 6. He hears the people above him having sex.
Yeah.
It wasn't at night. It was after them eating.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they're...
Yeah, they were eating while,
Yeah, they were eating.
The table had descended. They are in their 2 minutes of the table.
So they have pleasure. They have food.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a good spot. And I think that's when he was like, no, okay, we're at a good spot, but we need to make sure that the people below us are in a better spot.
Because it takes someone being up this high to protect the food for long enough for it to get down to the lower levels. And that's essentially what the plan is that Goring pitches, is that he wants to make weapons and get on the table and essentially ride it all the way down to 250 to make sure that the people are fed all the way down. He wants to, as he says, break the mechanics, because this thing isn't made to get food all the way down there. So let's break the mechanics. Let's break the wheel.
That was like, they get to a level before level 50. I don't know if it's the one right below them, but it's a couple below them. And
because we see the
his
surfboard.
friends, some people that he had already met.
Yes.
And so that's the interesting thing about this character. What's his name? Barat, is he has traveled levels. He's met multiple people in the prison, and they're not dead. They're alive, because sometimes people have helped him up. They have, like, helped him take his rope and let him come up there. So he had met the old wise man before. He had met those two people in that thing. So like, he's a person who has traveled the levels. And
to try
come
to get
through.
to level.
So he does believe in the goodness of people until that moment where he's shit on.
Well, but ultimately, I think he does still
Mhm.
remain that person because he also is a person that believes in symbols.
Yeah, in the symbol.
In a symbol of an act.
Yeah.
And the importance of that act to whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't want to hit his friends, but like he believed so much in sending a message that he had to hurt his friends because they were not going to listen.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to step over him because they were just so overwhelmed with their human needs that they were like, "Hey bud, like I really need to eat."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "I wish I could, but you just fast for one day."
Yep.
And
then if they said no,
they said
it's
no,
met with
and
violence.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's met with getting most likely hit in the head. A lot of head hits.
Lot of head hits. They
Yeah.
look like they fucking murdered
Yeah,
people.
Dust coming off.
Killed these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were really going
Fuck.
for it.
Really.
Yeah.
And it isn't until we get to that level of them descending with the old man.
The wise man
that's-
on a wheelchair.
Yeah, that's kind of like try to talk to them 1st.
Mhm.
At least try to talk to them first.
Yeah, convince them instead of frightening them.
Right.
Like, don't use violence immediately. Ask them. Change their minds. And that's what that lady wanted to do, is to not just insert fear or insert, just like fear, but like, please just find it in your hearts to do this right act.
Because he was like, if you just like bash everyone's heads in and stuff, who's going to say that you succeeded?
Right.
Who's going to look at you and be like, you did great?
And pretty much this old man kind of tells them that
You need
you need a message. You need some sort of a symbol to send back to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we get this panna cotta.
Yeah,
Panna
something
cotta.
perfect.
Something perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Which is the thing that they were talking about with the hair.
yes.
You know?
Because it wasn't perfect because there was a hair on it.
There was a hair
But
on it.
now it's perfect, and we need to preserve this perfect thing. And this is the symbol of solidarity, that no one touched the panna cotta. And so as they're going down now, their mission is to ration out the food that they do have to people, but also protect this one beautiful dish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally protected in this nice little glass.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we get the scene of our mom.
Me back up with the mother, and she's just being
Stabbed
fucked up with the knife.
Well,
Yeah.
at first, I'm pretty sure she unfortunately got raped, but like, also fucking eaten. He just goes and just like on her stomach. You guys didn't see that?
No.
He was
I
like
missed that
throws her and just like
stabbing.
brutally
Oh, yeah.
stabs her.
And now I know. Yeah, he like picks her up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's like, no.
No.
And then he just goes over and
Yeah, we have
Goring tries to protect her. He gets
Ugh.
brutally punched and beaten
Yeah.
up to the point of like not being
He's being choked out.
choked out.
He's
And then,
like
enough blood.
Barat is sliced with the guy with the samurai sword.
Fucking
by the guy
samurai
with the samurai
sword.
guy. Yeah.
slices
they
him
somehow-
open, and then little samurai fight, but eventually turns the samurai sword back on him,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Kills him,
Mm-hmm.
beheads the guy that's
Beheads
choking.
the choking guy.
yeah,
And then they have to get back on the platform.
yep,
And they have to go and leave the mother behind.
yeah.
And,
He
yeah.
is-
And still in this moment, we don't know for sure if she is legit or not.
Mhm.
Like, we still don't know if she actually is a mother or anything like that. But he still has this compassion for her and this sympathy for her. I think maybe even if it isn't true, like, it's for himself, you know?
Mhm.
Like, that is someone that, at least in his mind, he cared about.
Mhm. And he did care for her. He like protected her
Yeah.
in a couple
They
of key
protected
moments,
each
and
other.
she saved his life.
Yeah.
And, yep. But they got to keep going down.
Yep.
Gotta keep
And
going
I think
down.
it was like after level 100, that's when I started noting is like people just start killing each other because they just don't have any food.
Yeah, there's no food.
There's no food.
And there's just empty levels.
Yeah. And
So-
that's when they realize that the elevator keeps going. It
Just-
doesn't stop, so their count was wrong on
Yeah.
those levels.
It goes
like-
beyond level 250,
Yeah.
and
If there's no one on the platform, it just doesn't stop.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then we get to level three.
the final level.
Mhm.
Final level. And
Which is half of 666.
right, half of 666.
Which, if there's 2 people on each level, means there's 666.
There you go. That's it.
Absolutely no way
That's it.
for anybody to get fed down there.
Mm-mm.
No way. No way.
But the platform stops.
Platform has stopped, and who is down there but the child?
Kid,
Mhm.
the child.
The child. I thought it too. Like, give the kid the food,
Mhm.
like all the way down here. Give the
The
one
panna cotta.
last panna cotta to the kid so they can eat.
Yeah.
And there's just a moment. There's, I think, a very quick moment of it's the symbol, but
the panna cotta is a message. The panna cotta is a message.
right. It's very quickly they give it to her,
Mhm.
and she eats it.
Because she's a child.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Mhm.
And so they feed the child at least for one more day.
Mhm.
Because now they know for sure she will not get fed.
There's
She
no
will
mother.
not get fed. There's
Yeah.
no mother to come and feed her livers and
Whatever.
kidneys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and she is also speechless, has a similar look as our mother character.
Mhm.
So, you kind of are like, is this your child or not? Like, but
Doesn't really matter.
It
I guess.
doesn't,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because she's now the message.
Yeah. And I think they spend one night in level
Yeah.
33, and that's when Bharat bleeds out from his samurai cut.
Mhm.
And pretty much Goring is the last hope is to just ride it down into the void.
Mhm.
And so he brings the child onto the platform, and they go down with the platform to, I wrote rock bottom.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, there's nothing there.
There's
It's
nothing.
black.
Just
void.
a void, yeah. And that's when Trim comes for the last time and says, "You're not the message."
Yeah.
He's like,
He's
I'm
awesome.
her bearer. I'm her bearer. And he's like, the message does not need a bearer.
Because the platform bears the message.
Right.
Yes.
The platform is the bearer.
Mhm.
Yes. And in that moment was when I wrote down, he looks like a Don Quixote.
He does.
He had the like goatee and the mustache
Mhm.
kind of that Don Quixote is depicted with. And I was
And
like,
kind
oh,
of
shit, he
the
looks like him.
similar kind of hair, because that's,
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that was the style.
And
Sancho
then
Panza.
he sends the message up. The message
Mhm.
starts to go up, and he just watches it go in, and then that thing is speeding towards the
She's
top.
still sleeping though. She's
Yeah.
like, me. And
Yeah.
there's like,
Yep.
Deep sleeper.
Absolutely.
Deep
Oh,
sleeper.
yeah.
And we cut before the message ever gets to the top, and
Mhm.
that's when I was like, I don't know if this is a hopeful ending or a hopeless ending.
Mhm.
Oh, it's hopeless.
I think it's hopeful.
It's hopeful in the
Interesting.
sense that the girl's gonna be taken out of the prison. Hopefully.
Well, if she doesn't splat on the ceiling at the top.
Oh. No, I think it reaches to level 0, and then that, like, they.
I hope so.
Oh my lord!
I mean, yeah, that's kind of, well, that's why it's like kind of, I think, almost hopeless. Like, you don't want to ride that thing when it's going that fast
Mhm.
up. But maybe it does slow down before it gets to level 0. I don't
Maybe.
know. So maybe it is hopeful. I can't tell how to feel about it, because very much so, it's obviously, this movie's talking about our society and our system and classes, and can we change anything? Is it too far gone to ever change anything? Is this message going to be enough to be the thing that finally breaks the wheel and reinvents the system? Very, 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 very
No.
interesting movie. Really liked it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very much liked it. It was,
Yeah.
I'm glad.
it was really, really good.
It's-
I think it was an awesome start
Mhm.
to the Deadlights.
Yes.
And in true Deadlights form, let's get to some Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Boom! Smash a pumpkin.
So for those
Smashing
who
pumpkins.
are just joining the podcast on the Deadlights pod, the Smashing Pumpkins is our own personal rating system
Mhm.
for horror movies. Completely objective. We might like movies that you hate. We might hate movies that you love.
Yep.
We might disagree on movies, but that's the fun of this.
Maybe also we hate them, but because of the story and the actors and directors and everything about it, makes it a good film. Like, we understand that we are not going to like every single movie on here. It might not be our little, escargot,
Mhm.
but
Ah.
we can see the making of it and the beauty of it overall, and hopefully we'll try to be unbiased as possible.
So don't take these ratings that we give these movies personally. This is just our own experience.
I have a normal experience.
So
Normal.
let us start with our guests for today,
Yeah.
Adam.
Wow.
What do you think out of 5 Smashing Pumpkins
Yeah.
about it?
I really like this movie. I really like a movie where it's, two people stuck in a room and have to talk to each other.
Mhm.
I like that kind of thing.
You do.
I really like a movie where it's just conversation, but it's not just conversation in this movie. And there's lots of action and lots of
stakes.
really interesting things going on. The movie is saying a lot. The filmmaking is really lush while also being very stark at times too. Like, really cool color that they're using. Like, nighttime is just red and like great interesting lighting and setting, and it feels like a world that you're watching at that point. And just wow, I really liked the movie. I would give it a 4.5 Smashing Pumpkins.
Ooh.
4.5.
Nice.
Seeing it a second time, I've realized how impactful this movie is for me, and how much I just enjoyed it overall, with its writing, its visuals, the acting, the message, like everything about it. I truly, truly enjoyed. I can foresee myself seeing it again. Possibly one of my favorite movies. It has gone up there to being my favorite movie.
Wow.
So I'm gonna give it a 5.
Oh,
Wow.
whoa! Start off the podcast with a 5 movie.
Yes.
That's wild.
I was
It's all downhill from here.
Love that.
That is wild.
truly. I mean, you guys saw me how excited I was
Mhm.
that this was going to be our first movie. Because I had just told you about this movie too. And,
Yeah.
and
I
we
just threw it on the list.
Mm.
yeah, and we just randomly
It's
picked
great.
it.
It's perfect.
And
Awesome.
and I just fucking love this movie.
Mm.
There's just so many little things that you can grab, and I love when movies do that. Love it.
I always talk about this word that I can't think about right now. Deliberate filmmaking.
Ah.
I always talk about deliberate filmmaking, and everything in this movie felt deliberate. All the characters that came in, all the information that they each brought, and all the things that we were saying, everything that was in a shot felt very deliberate, and they were doing it for a reason that eventually paid off. The images of the snails pays off. The idea of the working with people above and below comes back, and it's like a lot of things that they're setting up that you don't think they're going to come back to, they really do touch on it. And we're seeing a lot of different perspectives that are similar perspectives in our own society
And
within this one movie. It's a very well-paced movie. I think it's a very tight script. It's a very very circular film.
Mhm.
Everything that they set up comes back around.
and then marrying the story that, for the most part we all know, and tying it to something so modern,
Yes.
and how it translates through fucking centuries.
Mhm.
It
It was-
something beautiful.
It
too.
felt like very smart filmmaking, very smart storytelling,
Mhm.
and it was saying something.
Mm.
It wasn't even just a well-made movie. It was saying a lot of
And
things.
it was saying something, but with still everybody can define it in their own interpretation.
Mhm.
And I think that's what's really cool when a movie kind of has a message, but leaves loose ends at the end, and be like, you think about what
Right.
you know.
Because that's what I kept going back to, is I don't know if I should feel hopeful or hopeless at the end of this movie.
Mhm.
And that's okay, because now I can see it again and make more. Maybe it'll change every time I see it too. I think personally, I am going to give this movie a 4.7.
Ooh,
4.7.
yeah.
So again, very high.
Yeah.
Very
Mhm.
high.
Wow.
But I can in good conscience start off this podcast with a 5 out of 5, but that's cool.
I can.
That's cool. I'd also never seen this movie before,
Yeah.
so it's hard to say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I usually like movies with more and more rewatches, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
More and more. So, but I thought that this was an awesome start to this podcast.
Yeah.
This was great.
Ooh.
Deadlights pop.
Deadlights pop. Deadlights
pop.
pop. And now,
Oh,
ooh,
do I? May I?
you?
I did my best to mix it up as best I can. Feel free to really dig in
Really
deep
gonna go
or
through there.
whatever you want. Yeah, really
I
mix
hope
it up.
it's Scooby-Doo Zombie Island.
Ooh, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo. Oh boy,
There's
careful.
one right there.
All right.
Oh,
What do we got? Next week we will be watching. Read the movie and the log line, please. Oh my God! What?
No way, Scooby Doo and
It's
the.
Scooby-Doo.
No. A girl walks home alone at night.
Shut up!
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh my God. The log line too.
Yes, please.
In the Iranian ghost town Bad City, a place that reeks of death and loneliness, the townspeople are unaware that they are being stalked by a lonesome vampire.
And Adam, do you want to say why you're so excited?
This is
about
one of
movie?
my favorite movies.
Yay!
And you picked it.
I picked it. What,
What?
the heck?
That's
Wow.
crazy.
What
That's
if this
crazy.
is like a new thing where like every guest just like somehow picks their favorite movie?
Somehow, I mean,
I
you,
have several.
You picked this one
Yeah.
I do.
somehow first, and
Wow.
then
And I
You picked this one.
I picked this one.
wow, interesting. Adam,
Mhm.
thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Please plug yourself.
Thank you.
Check out my podcast where you can find podcasts, audio ones. It's called Season 3, Episode 4. By the time you watch this, we will have released our final episode for the season.
Ooh.
And then we're going to be taking a little break. And then come the new year, we're going to start back in on the podcast with new TV shows and new guests. And it'll be great.
You already
Yay!
have, what, 30-some episodes
Yeah.
that people can listen to?
Yeah, 30. Check out the
Pretty
backlog.
cool
You got
stuff.
upwards of 40 hours of
You
Adam.
don't need to listen to it all in a row if you don't want to. You can jump around. We just talk about different TV shows.
It's really fun.
The same episode of a different TV show every time.
Every
Season
Every
3,
time.
Episode 4. The words are words, the numbers are numbers.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for joining. This has been a pleasure to do with someone who enjoys horror films. So
Here we go,
it's
Leslie.
just really great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here we
I'm
go.
so excited for the rest of this. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This little Deadlights
Yeah.
adventure.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing.
So I'm your host, Leslie. You can find me on Instagram at ColorMeLeslie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can
I
find
don't
me.
know why I
Yeah, that is
totally
you.
forgot about my
Wait.
hand. Is that me?
And you can
What
find
level am I on?
Uh-oh.
Ah,
333.
no!
And you can find me at BBPritchieT on Instagram, and also follow us at the Deadlights Pod on Instagram as well. Also check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we are recording in.
Mhm,
But
cool stuff.
until next time, y'all.
Until next time.
Let's get spooky.
What?
Nom,
Level
nom,
are we
nom,
on?
nom.